and something that really defines me is the amount of times that I moved when I was younger. I was born in Boca Raton, Florida, and I lived there for 7 years, and I loved it so much, but then my mom told me that she took a job 30 minutes away from Philadelphia, so we ended up moving there, and I lived there for 3 years, and then we moved again for my mom's job to the Bay Area. And throughout all of these moves, I really learned what kind of defines a home or what I look for in a friend. And I've also really realized the importance of having at least one close person in my life that I can just tell everything to and help de-stress me or whatever. And so one day during the new middle school I went to, I was sitting with these girls during lunch, and they were talking about things like clothes or the show The OC, and I really did not have any interest in that at the time. So I stood up and I asked if anybody wanted to go play kickball with me, and nobody answered, and I asked again and nobody answered. And being the cool kid that I was, I went to go play by myself, but just as I was walking away, this one girl, Becca, said that she would come and play with me. And so we played kickball against the wall every single day during lunch for the rest of the year. And we ended up being best friends, and we still are all throughout high school and to this day. And I remember at the end of 8th grade, she was telling me about how we both kind of look for one close person in our life, and in that way we're kind of like a starfish, that we cling to a rock and we don't like drifting far from that. And here's the starfish necklace that I always wear. And when I took a trip to Kona, Hawaii, I found it in a boutique, and I knew that I had to have it because I always cling to just one person. I have my rock that I can tell everything to. And so once high school ended and I came here, I was in search for a person that I could just talk to and help get through. And fortunately I found that. And so yeah, a starfish really defines me in that way, I think. Talk about some of the most important art movements as well as the corresponding artists. And throughout my career at Cal Poly so far, I have intensively studied different art movements and artists. And I've learned how events occurring in the world at the time can correspond with each different art movement and style. And art is one of the most important parts of our culture, along with the artistic movements, because revolutions, political movements, ideas, or anything going on at a given time can influence the movement. Abstract art, pop art, and surrealism, as well as its corresponding artists, have made people question reality and focus on each movement's image. So, abstraction, well, I'm going to start off talking about what an art movement really is. And it's when a group of artists agree on aspects or certain principles that in turn make up a style that you can see illustrated within each art piece. And they've drastically influenced the world around us by impacting the thinking of artists as well as the public. They can be used as a means of expression or protest against modern-day society. They have inspired political movements, have helped make people question the world around them, and have helped promote change in either our thoughts or actions. So abstraction is one of the most important art movements of our time. And it began in 1883 when Claude Monet began a series of paintings of his gardens and ponds in his backyard. And over the next 43 years, his paintings gradually dissolved into broken strokes of color which depicted an unrealistic scene, soon becoming known as abstraction. And the movement really started to take hold in the late 1800s when Vincent van Gogh used flat areas of color to depict a mixed perception of the real and ideal. And he took line, shape, tone, pattern, texture, or form of what he was illustrating, and he considered it separately, and which created a poetic reconstruction or simplified essence of the original subject. And in the painting on the left, you can see him doing that there. Another artist in particular that was really important in abstraction is Georges Seurat, and he conducted intense studies of the effects of light and perspective. And he questioned both standard of artistic conventions. When he would paint his village scenes that were very popular, he would reduce an architectural structure to a geometric form like a cube. yet he would shade it in a way that would look both flat and three-dimensional by like breaking up and fragmenting the image. And beginning in 1909, Braque began to work closely with Picasso, who had been developing a similar approach to oil painting. And both artists produced paintings of monochromatic color and complex patterns of faceted form. So basically, the colors are really similar, and it was they were all kind of angular, as you can see in both of those right there. And another important art movement was Surrealism, and that also began in the late 1800s with artists such as Man Ray and Salvador Dali. And their art contained curving, continuous lines, out of which emerged strange and symbolic figures that are products of the mind. Its aim, as outlined in the first Surrealist Manifesto of 1924, was to liberate the artist's imagination by tapping into the subconscious mind to discover a superior reality, or what they call a surreality. To achieve this, the Surrealists drew upon the images of dreams and combined images not really associated with each other at all. And Salvador Dali was a skilled draftsman, and he was best known for his striking and kind of bizarre images in his work, as you can see there on the left. And the one on the left is called The Persistence of Memory, and I'm sure that you guys have may have seen it before. And basically breaking down this work, the soft washes are a rejection of the assumption that time is rigid or deterministic. And the idea is supported by other images in the work, such as the wide expanding landscape or the other limp watches that are being devoured by ants. And Dali was highly imaginative, but also was kind of unusual, which made him almost popular. Like, as you can see there, he looks a little strange. But he also suffered from manic depression, and his famous mustache made him somewhat of a cultural icon. And another art movement that I'm sure you guys have heard of is pop art. And that occurred in the late 1950s when an artist named Lawrence Allen